Chapter 1. The Encounter on Calyx 9. The barren, blood-red plains of Calyx 9 stretched endlessly beneath a sky choked with swirling ochre clouds, their shifting hues casting a surreal, almost hellish glow across the jagged landscape. Jagged spires of rust-colored rock pierced the horizon like ancient teeth, their shadows twisting and fracturing across cracked, parched soil that had not known rain in centuries. The air was thick with dust and the metallic tang of iron-rich minerals, a harsh and unforgiving world where every breath was earned, every step a calculated risk. It was a place where life clawed desperately to survive, where the strong ruled with merciless authority, and where technology was as much a weapon of survival as the instinct honed in endless cycles of conflict. In this world, the Varsian clans were undisputed sovereigns, massive, formidable beings towering well over 2 meters tall, their skin a mottled canvas of earthy browns and reds, eyes sharp as daggers, and bodies forged by brutal combat and ruthless tradition. Among their warrior elite, Kalira was a legend, fierce, unyielding, and prideful, a warrior bred for domination. Her battle armor was a masterwork of biometal alloys, sleek yet menacing, etched with the sigils of countless victorious campaigns and reinforced with energy shields that shimmered faintly under the oppressive sun. Strapped to her broad hip was her signature weapon, a colossal plasma lance that pulsed with latent energy, capable of vaporizing armored targets with a single, devastating strike. Every inch of her carried the aura of power and prestige. Every motion radiated lethal confidence. On this day, Kalira prowled the outskirts of her clan's territory, her senses razor-sharp as she scanned the red dunes for signs of trespassers or rival scouts. The desert whispered with the echoes of ancient battles, the shifting sands hiding the secrets of forgotten wars and buried technologies. She moved with predatory grace, each footfall light yet deliberate, the armor's servos humming softly as it adjusted to the terrain. Her sharp eyes caught flickers of movement, small shadows darting between rocks, faint heat signatures betraying life forms barely clinging to existence. She was accustomed to threats, but today something was different. Something was out of place. That something was a human. Humans were an anomaly in this part of the galaxy, scattered remnants of a once great species thought nearly extinct after the collapse centuries ago. Tales of their resilience and ingenuity were legendary, but their presence on Calyx 9 was rare and usually unwelcome. They were smaller, weaker in raw physicality, and their primitive weaponry often made them the easiest prey for alien predators and warlords alike. Yet this particular human moved with an unusual confidence, carrying himself as if he belonged to the very wilderness he had trespassed upon. Kalira's first impression was amusement tinged with disdain as she caught sight of his weapon, a compact sidearm no longer than her forearm, its barrel worn and scratched. It looked like a toy compared to her plasma lance or the colossal siege cannons favored by her people. The human's jacket was patched and faded, his gear seemingly scavenged from wreckage or barter rather than forged in the fires of war. Yet his eyes, sharp and calculating, met hers without hesitation. There was a spark there, a flicker of defiance, or perhaps madness that piqued her curiosity. "Is that all you've got?" Kalira's voice was low, edged with contempt as she stepped from her cover, the plasma lance igniting with a radiant hiss, bathing the red sands in blue-white light. Her stature towered over the human, casting a long shadow that seemed to swallow him whole. A toy for a child, not a weapon for a warrior. "Tell me, how do you expect to survive with such a pathetic thing?" The human's lips curled into a faint, dry smile. His hand rested casually at his hip, fingers brushing the grip of the small sidearm. "Sometimes, the size of the weapon isn't what matters." His voice was calm, but carried an undercurrent of steel. "It's how you use it." Kalira laughed, a sound both musical and cruel. Words of a desperate fool. "You will die here, little human. This world does not forgive weakness." The desert winds whipped around them, stirring dust and sand, the tension thickening like a tangible force. Kalira's finger tightened on the plasma lance trigger, energy crackling and coalescing into a lethal beam ready to unleash devastation. The human remained still, eyes locked on hers, unblinking and unafraid. The moment stretched, taut, two worlds colliding in a heartbeat, one vast and ancient, the other small but fiercely determined. Then, with a fluid motion that belied his size, the human reached beneath his jacket and pulled out a weapon far larger and far deadlier than his sidearm, a concealed railgun of sleek, brutal design, its barrel heavy and long, gleaming with cold, deadly precision. The weapon thrummed with latent power, its magnetic coils glowing faintly as it powered up. Kalira's eyes widened in shock and a grudging respect. This was no child's toy. This was a hidden giant, a silent thunder waiting to roar. She had mocked the human's tiny weapon, sure of her dominance, certain that his fate was sealed. But the true battle had only just begun, and the stakes were far higher than she had ever imagined. The desert held its breath, the shifting sands waiting to be soaked in fire and blood. Let me know if you want me to continue with Chapter 2. Certainly. Here is the continuation of Chapter 1 of She mocked the human's tiny weapon until he pulled out the bigger one hidden below, continuing the story with large, immersive paragraphs. Kalira's sharp gaze bore into the human's calm demeanor, the faint smile still playing on his lips, unnerving her more than the weapon he'd revealed. In the countless battles she had fought, she had learned never to underestimate the quiet ones, those who hid their true strength beneath layers of humility or simplicity. The railgun he now brandished was a beast of a weapon, far heavier and more complex than anything a lone human scavenger should reasonably carry through such a hostile planet. Its magnetic coils pulsed with a soft azure glow, promising destructive force that could pierce even her armor's energy shields with a single well-aimed shot. Yet, there was something more, a confidence in the way he held it, like a seasoned hunter who knew exactly when and how to unleash his power. Impressive, Kalira admitted, voice dropping to a low growl. But raw power alone does not win battles, human. You'll find Calyx 9's dangers far beyond what your technology can fix. Her hand tightened instinctively around the plasma lance's grip, the energy humming through the weapon's shaft, ready to scorch flesh and melt alloy alike. You should turn back before your arrogance seals your fate. The human's eyes flicked to the horizon briefly, where storm clouds gathered in rolling waves of ochre and crimson, an approaching tempest capable of swallowing the land whole. Then he looked back at her, unwavering. I didn't come here to run, and I'm not afraid. His voice was steady, measured, carrying the weight of someone who had faced death before and lived to tell the tale. Besides, I didn't come here alone. His fingers pressed a subtle button on the railgun's side, and a series of low, mechanical whirs echoed faintly from the desert nearby. Kalira's nostrils flared as a squadron of small, agile hover drones materialized from behind the jagged rock-sleek black machines equipped with twin-pulse lasers, their red sensor eyes locking onto her with relentless precision. The human had backup. This was no random wanderer. He was part of something bigger, something organized and dangerous. A grin spread across Kalira's face, sharp and predatory. So, you brought friends. This just got interesting. She shifted her stance, ready to engage. Let's see if you and your big weapon can survive what I'm about to unleash. As the first plasma bolts streaked through the thickening dust, the battle for Calyx 9 began, not just a fight of weapons, but of wills, strategy, and the unyielding spirit that refused to bow before giants. Chapter 2. The Hidden Arsenal and the Dance of Shadows. The unforgiving sun of Calyx 9 had long dipped below the jagged horizon by the time the dust and echoes of the initial skirmish had settled into an uneasy silence. The crimson sky deepened into bruised purples and burning oranges, casting the barren desert in a surreal glow that made every shadow seem alive and every rock a potential hiding place for danger. Kalira stood amidst the scattered ruins of an ancient settlement, weathered stone and twisted metal half-buried beneath centuries of sandstorms, and surveyed the battlefield with a gaze as sharp as the edges of her plasma lance. The human, whose name she had learned was Elias, had vanished into the maze of rocky outcrops and shifting dunes, leaving behind the faint hum of his drones and the lingering scent of ozone and gunpowder. Her pride was bruised, yet her curiosity burned stronger than ever. This human had defied every expectation mocked for his diminutive sidearm, only to reveal a hidden weapon of terrifying scale and sophistication. His tactical mind was as formidable as his arsenal, and he had allies, hidden in the shadows, ready to strike with lethal precision. Kalira knew that to defeat him, She would need more than brute strength and overwhelming firepower. She would need to understand his strategies, anticipate his moves, and prepare for a battle not just of weapons, but of wits and will. Elias moved through the desert like a ghost, his railgun slung casually over one shoulder, drones weaving protective arcs around him in a silent, deadly ballet. The ruins of Calyx 9 were a labyrinth of forgotten technology and ancient traps, relics from a civilization whose secrets had long been swallowed by the sands. Yet Elias navigated them with the ease of one who had studied every map, every legend, every fragment of data that might give him an edge. His mission was clear: to survive, to uncover what the Varsian clan sought to hide, and to prove that humans, despite their smaller stature and simpler tools, could wield power that rivaled the mightiest warriors of the galaxy. The railgun was more than just a weapon. It was a masterpiece of engineering, a relic, and a revolution all at once. Compact enough to be concealed beneath his weathered coat, yet capable of firing devastating bursts of kinetic energy, it was designed for precision and impact. Elias had spent years scavenging and upgrading, blending old-world craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology salvaged from forgotten starships and derelict battlefields. Its magnetic coils hummed softly, a promise of destruction waiting to be unleashed, calibrated to pierce even the toughest Varsian armor. But its true power lay in its adaptability: modular barrels, programmable ammo types, and an AI-assisted targeting system that could learn and predict enemy movements with unnerving accuracy. As twilight deepened into night, Elias set up a temporary command post within the shelter of a collapsed structure. Screens flickered to life, displaying sensor feeds from his drones, scanning for Varsian patrols and mapping enemy movements. His fingers moved deftly over holographic controls, coordinating strikes and defenses with the calm precision of a seasoned commander. Despite the loneliness that came with being far from home and allies, he felt a surge of purpose. The galaxy was a place of endless conflict and shifting alliances, but here, on this desolate world, he had a chance to tip the scales to show that the underestimated human could rewrite the rules of engagement. Meanwhile, Kalira was rallying her forces. Though wounded in pride, her spirit was unbroken. The Varsian warrior clans were fiercely loyal, their bonds forged in fire and blood over millennia. Word of Elias's audacity spread quickly. An alien who wielded both cunning and an unexpected arsenal, challenging the supremacy of their warrior code. For the first time in decades, rival clans set aside grudges to face a common foe. Armories were opened, and weapons of unimaginable scale were readied: massive energy cannons, biomechanical war beasts, and devastating siege machines that roared to life like ancient gods awakened from slumber. The desert night grew colder, but the heat of anticipation ignited fires in camps across the dunes. Scouts reported strange, coordinated movements: Elias and his drones striking from unexpected angles, vanishing before the Varsian could retaliate. His strategy was guerrilla warfare writ large, exploiting terrain and technology to outmaneuver a superior enemy. Yet Kalira, seasoned in countless campaigns, adapted swiftly. She deployed elite units armed with electromagnetic pulse weapons designed to disable drones, and used psychic assassins capable of sensing the faintest disturbances in the energy fields to hunt down the elusive human. Days bled into nights in a relentless cycle of skirmishes and strategic retreats. The desert became a chessboard of fire and shadows, where every move could be the difference between survival and annihilation. Elias's railgun thundered across the plains, its shots carving craters into Varsian war machines, while Kalira's plasma lance and towering warriors answered with devastating counterattacks. Both leaders understood that this was more than a fight for territory. It was a battle for honor, for survival, and for the very definition of strength in a galaxy that had long forgotten the value of cunning over brute force. Beneath the swirling sands and starlit sky, two warriors shaped the destiny of Calyx 9 and, perhaps, the wider galaxy. Their clash was not just of weapons, but of ideologies: the raw power of ancient might versus the calculated precision of hidden innovation. As their forces clashed in the dunes, each sought the advantage that would end the conflict in their favor. The stakes were immense, the risks colossal, and neither could afford to show weakness. And yet, Amidst the chaos, a grudging respect began to bloom. Kalira, watching Elias maneuver with relentless determination and unexpected genius, began to question the arrogance that had once blinded her. Elias, observing the fierce loyalty and indomitable spirit of the Varsian warriors, realized that strength came not just from firepower, but from the bonds forged in battle and the unyielding will to endure. The desert held its breath, awaiting the moment when one would claim victory and the other would either rise or fall beneath the weight of the hidden weapon and the unyielding heart. Chapter 3: Shadows of Strategy and the Surge of Power. The starlit sky stretched like a vast canvas above the jagged dunes and rust-streaked plains of Calyx. 9. A silent witness to the deadly dance unfolding below. The planet's harsh winds whispered tales of ancient battles and whispered secrets to those who dared listen. But on this night, the air itself seemed charged with anticipation and electric tension born of conflict, cunning, and the clash of two indomitable wills. Kalira stood atop a ridge overlooking the ruins of the battlefield, her crimson eyes gleaming with a fierce intelligence that belied the raw power she wielded. The human, Elias, had proven himself a formidable opponent, his railgun strikes precise and devastating, his drones weaving a lethal web that kept even the most seasoned Varsian warriors on edge. Yet she was not a leader to be easily outmaneuvered. Every loss taught her, every encounter sharpened her tactics, and her pride deep and burning demanded victory. Elias, meanwhile, moved through the shadows with the fluid grace of a predator stalking its prey. His compact frame was deceptively strong, conditioned by years of survival in worlds that demanded adaptability and resourcefulness. The railgun he carried was more than a weapon. It was an extension of his will, a tool that combined ancient engineering with modern innovation to punch through the armored scales of Varsian war beasts and shatter the shields of towering battle tanks. His drones, small but fiercely intelligent, flitted through the ruins, relaying data, probing enemy lines, and striking with ruthless efficiency. Every move Elias made was a calculated gamble, a test of nerve and precision in a war where brute strength alone no longer guaranteed dominance. As the night deepened, the battlefield became a maze of flickering fires, twisted metal, and shattered armor. The Varsian clans had regrouped, their war cries echoing across the desert as they launched coordinated counterattacks aimed at flushing Elias and his allies from their positions. Kalira led the charge personally, her plasma lance blazing a trail of destruction, slicing through enemy lines with terrifying speed and power. Her warriors followed with fierce loyalty, their combined might a whirlwind of devastating assaults that sought to overwhelm the humans' fragile defenses. Yet Elias's forces held firm, drawing upon guerrilla tactics honed in countless skirmishes across hostile worlds. His drones provided constant surveillance, spotting ambushes and countering attacks before they could reach their targets. His railguns charged shots thundered through the night, precise and lethal, targeting enemy command units and supply lines with devastating effect. Every engagement was a test of wills, a deadly chess game played out under the indifferent stars. Amidst the chaos, Elias accessed the ship he had commandeered months before arriving on Calyx. 9. A sleek, heavily modified scout vessel equipped with advanced cloaking and sensor technology. From its hidden hangar, he deployed additional drones, each armed with electromagnetic pulse charges designed to disrupt the Varxians' energy shields and communication arrays. The battlefield lit up with pulses of energy as Varsian war machines faltered and enemy coordination broke down in critical moments. Elias's small but highly trained squad exploited these openings, striking swiftly and retreating before the full force of the enemy could respond. Kalira, sensing the tide turning yet unwilling to concede, adapted her strategy. Recognizing the humans' reliance on technology, she ordered her elite Shadow Warriors assassins trained to operate undetected and silence targets, with ruthless efficiency to infiltrate Elias's positions. These warriors moved like specters through the ruins, blending with the swirling dust and darkness, seeking to disable drones, destroy communication nodes, and cut the human supply lines. The night erupted with whispered confrontations and sudden bursts of violence as Elias's forces scrambled to defend their fragile footholds. The clash was brutal and relentless. Neither side gave ground easily, the desert floor scorched and scarred by plasma fire and kinetic blasts. But beneath the surface of this savage conflict lay a deeper game, the battle for hearts and minds, alliances and betrayals, survival and supremacy. Elias and Kalira both knew that the war would not be decided by weapons alone, but by their ability to anticipate each other's moves, to turn weaknesses into strengths, and to seize the unexpected advantage when fate presented it. As dawn broke, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, the battlefield lay silent, once more scarred and smoldering, a testament to the night's fury. Elias regrouped with his remaining forces, tending to wounded drones and soldiers alike, while Kalira withdrew her warriors to the safety of the clan's fortified outposts. Both leaders understood that this was but one chapter in a longer struggle, and the true battle was yet to come. Yet in the quiet moments before the new day's fight, Elias pondered the weapon he still kept hidden, a secret he had carried across worlds and battles, a device capable of turning the tide in ways no one could imagine. It was the bigger one hidden below, a weapon not just of raw power but of cunning design, waiting for the right moment to reveal its devastating potential. He knew that when that moment came, Kalira and her clans would witness a force unlike any they had faced before, and the balance of power on Calyx 9 would be forever changed. The desert winds whispered through the ruins, carrying promises of fire and fate, and the stars above shone down on two warriors bound by conflict and destiny, each preparing for the inevitable surge that would define their legacy. Chapter 4. The Unveiling of the True Power. The first rays of dawn struggled to pierce the thick, swirling dust storms that rolled mercilessly across the shattered plains of Calyx 9, a planet as unforgiving in its climate as it was in its ancient grudges. The air was heavy with the acrid scent of scorched metal and burnt ozone, remnants of the battles that had raged since the clash of two titans, Kalira, the proud Varsian warrior queen, and Elias, the human who wielded a weapon far larger and more devastating than any could have anticipated. The war-torn landscape bore silent testimony to their relentless conflict, the ground deeply gouged, the rocks fractured and scorched by plasma fire and railgun blasts. Yet, beneath the smoldering surface, something more profound was stirring. The revelation of a power that would forever change the balance between species, the meaning of strength, and the fate of a fractured galaxy. Kalira, despite her indomitable spirit and overwhelming physical prowess, now found herself confronted with an enemy unlike any before. Elias was no mere human scavenger or reckless insurgent. He was a tactician, a visionary, and a bearer of weapons crafted with meticulous care and terrifying ingenuity. His concealed railgun was only the surface, the outward expression of a hidden arsenal of technological marvels designed to counter the overwhelming might of the Varsian clans and their ancient war machines. As the dust settled, Kalira's sharp mind raced to comprehend the true scope of the threat. She had mocked the humans' tiny weapon, confident in the superiority of her massive plasma lance and the raw power of her people's armaments. But now, standing amid the ruins, she understood that strength was not measured merely by size or noise, but by precision, adaptability, and the will to exploit every advantage. Elias had led his forces through a campaign of cunning and relentless precision, striking at supply lines, communication hubs, and command centers with calculated fury. His drones, small but deadly, had neutralized the Varxians' technological edge, disrupting shields and scrambling sensor arrays. Yet, the true surprise was still to come. Hidden deep within a cavernous facility buried beneath the desert sands was the core of Elias's power, a colossal weapons platform, engineered in secrecy and designed for one purpose: to end the war on his terms. As the twin sons of Calyx 9 rose fully, burning away the haze of battle, Elias guided Kalira, through a temporary truce born of necessity, to the entrance of this subterranean complex. The vast chamber yawned open beneath the rock, a cathedral of forgotten technology and silent machinery that hummed faintly with residual energy. Massive conduits lined the walls, pulsing with power, leading to a central platform where the bigger weapon rested in all its fearsome glory. It was a war machine unlike any other, an enormous rail cannon integrated with cutting-edge energy conversion systems, capable of firing projectiles at velocities that could pierce planetary crusts and obliterate the most advanced armors. Surrounding the main cannon were arrays of defense drones, automated repair systems, and a command AI that rivaled even the Varsian warships in tactical sophistication. Kalira's eyes widened as she surveyed the scale and precision of the weapon, the complex fusion of human ingenuity and scavenged alien technology that made it a unique force in the galaxy. For the first time, she felt a grudging respect for Elias, not just as an opponent, but as a commander whose vision extended far beyond mere brute force. The weapon was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a testament to their ability to endure, innovate, and overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The revelation of the weapon shifted the balance between the two leaders and their forces. Kalira, once driven by pride and the certainty of her clan's superiority, now faced a choice: to continue the conflict that threatened to destroy them all, or to forge an alliance that could harness their combined strengths against greater cosmic threats looming beyond Calyx. 9. Elias, equally aware of the stakes, recognized that survival depended not just on firepower, but on trust and unity between species long divided by history and prejudice. Together, they devised a plan that transcended their personal rivalry. Using the massive rail cannon as a keystone, they coordinated a strike against a common enemy, the remnants of a galactic tyrant faction seeking to exploit the chaos on Calyx. 9. To seize power. The weapon's devastating range and precision would be matched by Kalira's warriors' raw might and battlefield experience, a fusion of technology and tradition, of cunning and strength. The battle that followed was epic in scope and consequence. Across the deserts and skies of Calyx, 9 fleets clashed, energy lances met railgun fire, and armies of drones and warriors collided in a tempest of fury. The massive cannon thundered from its hidden lair, its blasts carving through enemy formations, shattering warships, and turning the tide of war. Kalira's forces, inspired by the humans' boldness and the promise of victory, fought with renewed vigor and unity. Together, they forged a new future, one born from the ashes of old grudges and the promise of shared survival. As the dust settled on the battlefield, the legacy of their conflict became clear. The tiny weapon Elias had once wielded was a symbol of underestimated power, but it was the bigger one hidden below that changed the course of history. It was not just a tool of war, but a catalyst for change, forcing two proud cultures to confront their differences, overcome their rivalries, and build a fragile alliance that might one day reshape the galaxy. In the quiet aftermath, beneath the twin suns now rising over a scarred but hopeful world, Kalira and Elias stood side by side, their weapons silent, but their resolve stronger than ever. The human's secret weapon had proven its worth, but more importantly, it had revealed the true strength that lay in unity, ingenuity, and the courage to embrace the unknown. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of an unlikely partnership, one forged not in the ease of friendship, but in the crucible of conflict and the revelation of hidden power. Together, they would face whatever challenges the stars held, carrying the promise of a new era where size and might were measured not just by weapons, but by vision, will, and the bonds forged in fire. The battlefield beneath the twin suns of Calyx 9 was a chaotic tableau of fire and shadow, where every breath of wind carried the scent of burning circuitry and scorched earth. Kalira's warriors, fierce and unyielding, surged forward under her command, their plasma lances cutting swaths through the enemy ranks. Yet it was the hidden weapon, the colossal rail cannon nestled deep in the subterranean fortress, that turned the tide of war. Each thunderous blast fired from that massive gun tore through enemy formations like a scythe through wheat, disrupting lines, destroying supply chains, and breaking the spirit of even the most hardened foes. The human Elias, once dismissed as a mere scavenger with a tiny weapon, now commanded a force that demanded awe and respect. As the alliance between Varsian warriors and human rebels solidified, their combined strength reshaped the desert world's fate. Kalira and Elias fought not only as allies, but as symbols of a new order, one that transcended old rivalries and embraced the power of unity, ingenuity, and shared destiny. The brutal conflict that had once seemed inevitable transformed into a campaign for survival and hope, their forces pushing the tyrannical factions that sought to exploit Calyx 9's chaos into retreat. Amidst the smoldering ruins of battle, a fragile peace blossomed. Where once there was only contempt and competition, now there was cooperation and cautious trust. Kalira found herself admiring the human's unyielding spirit and inventive mind, while Elias recognized the strength, honor, and traditions that shaped the Varsian warrior's heart. Together, they envisioned a future where their two peoples could stand side by side against greater threats lurking in the galaxy's far reaches. Yet the story of their struggle was more than the sum of battles fought and won. It was a testament to the profound truth that strength is not measured merely by size or firepower, but by the courage to reveal hidden depths, to adapt and evolve, and to forge bonds where none seemed possible. Elias's bigger weapon hidden below had been more than a device of destruction. It was a metaphor for the potential buried within all who dare to challenge expectations. As Calyx 9's dust settled under the warming light of a new day, Kalira and Elias stood together atop a ridge overlooking the vast desert plains. The horizon stretched endlessly, promising unknown dangers and endless possibilities. The war was won, but their journey was only beginning. With mutual respect and shared purpose, they pledged to lead their peoples into an era of alliance and exploration, turning the page on an age of conflict toward a future shaped by hope and collaboration. The human and the Varsian, once enemies divided by culture and pride, had become architects of a new legacy, proof that even in the darkest deserts of the galaxy, the light of unity could shine brighter than the mightiest weapon.